Joe Biden has vowed to respond to the Iranian-backed strikes that killed 3 American service members. You tweeted about this possible response. Perhaps the Uniparty should reevaluate a policy that stations a few hundred soldiers in dozens of remote areas in dozens of countries. Not enough soldiers to fight a real war, but just enough to be vulnerable targets. Then, back in 2020, Joe Biden himself accusing President Trump of doing the very thing that Biden is doing right now. And Biden saying Trump needed congressional approval for any strikes against Iran. Senator, does Biden need to come before Congress and ask for authority? And if he doesn't, is there a majority in the Congress, in your view, that still believes in the integrity of that institution to call Biden on it?
Without question, any president, Republican or Democrat, that wants to take us to war or commit significant acts of war has to come to Congress and should. Will they? Probably not. Both parties have ignored this. And most of the Republican leadership and Democrat leadership doesn't seem to care about the constitutional authorization of war. I do, and continue to hold his feet to the fire on this. And I think too much attention is made to what will be the reprisal. Who will we strike for killing our soldiers? Look, my heart goes out to the family of the soldiers who died, but I wish they had not been placed in an untenable position. I think sprinkling 100 soldiers here, 100 soldiers there in dozens of places, that is not a strategic force. They are placing them such that I think they're sitting ducks. You know, the Iranians are probably responsible, or the Iranian proxies, but you know, they don't care about killing an Arab or a Jordanian or a Syrian. They care about killing an American. So the Americans become targets for them, and then they can hoop it up through the streets, yelling and screaming how great it is to kill Americans, and it's despicable. But the thing is, if we didn't station 50 or 100 soldiers everywhere throughout the Middle East, we wouldn't have these sitting targets. And if you look back to Reagan and his conclusion after the bombing in 1983 in Beirut, he made the conclusion that it wasn't a good idea to place our soldiers as sitting targets when we aren't actively engaged in war, just leaving them there year after year after year to become targets. So I think it's a big mistake of our foreign policy, both Republicans and Democrats, who advocate these small, tiny little bases everywhere.
And Senator, I've only got about 30 seconds left, but I had to get you to at least give a brief comment on this. The State Department is reportedly reviewing options to recognize the Gaza territory as a Palestinian state. What do you think about that?
You know, I've always been unclear why they aren't already actually a Palestinian state. They have their own government. They pretty much control all of the internal affairs. They don't necessarily control import and export. But recognizing them, I think it may not be the best time to actually think about recognizing, particularly since there's no government there other than the Hamas, which was responsible for the October 7th massacre. So it's probably not the best time to be talking about that. I do think that ultimately talking about a way to allow prosperity to occur in Gaza and let poverty lessen over time is a good thought to getting ultimate peace. But it's hard to find that when it's hard to negotiate with the people who actually committed the massacre.
Yeah, leave it to the Biden regime to say, hey, look, they've got a terrorist organization in charge of their government. Let's recognize them. Oh, boy. Senator Rand Paul, sir, thank you very much. Appreciate the time as always.